Now here's your host, Jason Voorhees and Aaron Savage.
Ooh, yeah!
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Sports and Metal Podcast. We are your hosts. This is Aaron Savage. With me, as always, my partner in crime, Mr. Jason Voorhees. What's going on, Jay?
What is up, brother?
Not much. Before we get into it, I want to thank our sponsor, La Terrain Watches. Please check them out. All their social medias, you can find them at La Terrain. You can also visit their website at la-touraine.com. That's la-terrain.com. If you enter our promo code at checkout, you'll receive 10% off your purchase. The promo code is the letters SNM. That's SNM as in sports and metal, La Terrain Watches. Make sure you check them out. And I'd also like to make a special announcement. Sports and Metal has just entered into a new partnership with Manscaped, and more details are coming. We'll get back to you on that one. So excited to announce that. Also, rocking out my Quiet Riot 1984 Mental Health Tour shirt, kicking it off right on a Friday. And, dude, I'm pumped up. You might notice the title of the episode this week is Whacked. You'll see why. And for starters, as a diehard Sopranos fan, I'm super pumped that The Many Saints of Newark comes out today as we speak on Friday, October 1st. Haven't had a chance to watch it. I want to see it in the theater, but I'm also going to cheat and watch it on HBO Max first. I'll still go support it in the theater. I did watch like a couple minutes at like 5 o'clock this morning before work just to like get a little taste. So I'm not going to reveal anything, but the narrator is pretty cool. I'll say that. Throwback to the show. But anyway, moving on. I digress. Whacked. Anybody who follows the show knows that Jason and I are diehard Mets and Phillies fans, and both of our teams have been whacked from the playoffs. Done, kaput, 6 feet under, stick a fork in them. Jay, what is going on? Our team's always letting us down, bro.
It's absolutely disgusting, dude. I honestly, I am so sick and tired of the Phillies. I've had it. I mean, I remember when we did our preview show before the season, and you and I both were under the agreement that it was going to be either the Phillies or the Mets that were going to win the division. Well, I guess we couldn't have been more wrong because neither of the teams did friggin' good. Both teams are really bad, actually. I don't even know where to start, man. I'm at the point where it's just so frustrating. I've been told that I'm negative. I've been told that all I do is complain and that all I do is I'm never happy about the Phillies. Well, can you please tell me what am I supposed to be freaking happy about? Okay? The only positive in the 2021 Phillies season was Bryce Harper. That's it.
What about Zach Wheeler? Come on. Cy Young candidate.
All right.
You can't forget Zach.
Zach Wheeler. But, I mean, honestly, I'm just disgusted with not being able to make the playoffs. I mean, this is the 10th straight year. You know, if Seattle makes the playoffs, that the Phillies will be the longest standing team to have not made the playoffs.
That's pretty embarrassing. And that's kind of mind-boggling because it just doesn't seem that long ago when they won that 2008 World Series. And here we are. It's a decade. It's over a decade. It's crazy. But, dude, I got to be honest. As pissed as you are about the Phillies, dude, I think the Mets are the more disappointing team. I really do, Jay. Dude, think about it. I know that it can be biased if I say, the Mets are going to win the division, if you say the Phillies are going to win the division. But coming into the season, not just because I'm a Mets fan, I honestly believed that the Mets were going to win the division. And I preface it by saying not because I was a Mets fan. I really did believe it. Because they had the best rotation on paper, even without Syndergaard. I mean, you have the best pitcher in the world, Jacob deGrom. You got Marcus Stroman. You know, you had Taijuan Walker. The first half was lights out. He was a great signing that we talked about in the spring, how great of a signing he was. You know, they had a solid bullpen with Familia and Diaz, who was coming off a rebound year last year. Seth Lugo, who's always been money for this team. The lineup was one amongst the most powerful in the league last year in the COVID-shortened season. You know, they were not near the top in runs. They were more toward the bottom of the pack in runs. But that was almost like an anomaly because they had everything else was near the top. So it's Dom Smith, Jeff McNeil. You picture he's going to hit 325. Alonso's going to give you 40 bombs. You pictured Smith was going to hit 30, 100. You know, up and down. Lindor, they brought in Francisco Lindor, dude. This is a guy that you expect a 315 batting average, 28 home runs, 110 RBIs, 115 runs, and 20 steals. You got a 230 batting average from Lindor, bro. Who would have thought that? And this is a guy that never struck out that much in his career. He had 100 strikeout season in his career. I think his career high in strikeouts was 107, but that was in like 650 at bats. This year, in under 400 at bats, he's already approaching 100. So he hasn't been the same player. You know, so again, they had all this talent. Here's the biggest part of it. They had the new owner. It was supposed to be the turning of the page. The Wilpon sold the team. You brought in Steve Cohen, the most wealthiest owner in all of sports. The guy who the fucking show Billions on HBO is based off of. Bought the Mets. The guy that wasn't going to take no for an answer, wasn't going to take any shit like he doesn't on the show. You know, the real life, whatever the hell his name is, I forget, Axelrod, whatever in the show. But Steve Cohen. This is the guy that bought the team. So you figured if anybody got off to a slow start, the resources would be there to replace that guy. Like you thought they were going to be like the new Yankees. But even if that was the case, it never materialized that way because the whole team underachieved. It wasn't like one guy underachieved. We'll bench this guy, we'll bring in somebody else. The whole team. You can't replace the whole team. You had DeGrom, one of the greatest first halves in the history of baseball, didn't pitch an inning in the second half. The one guy you could say had a great year is Marcus Stroman, and he's got the biggest ego for a guy that's not great, that's just good, very good. He's going to probably want a fortune on the free agent market. Are Mets going to sign him? I don't know, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. This has nothing to do with this conversation. The bottom line is I just really believe that the Mets season was more disappointing just because of those expectations. Jay, I mean, the new ownership, everything I just said, I think this season, and here we go, I'm going to bring Mets Phillies back into this. Mets won the division in 2006. They looked like they were building a dynasty. They had the young Jose Reyes, the young David Wright. Citi Field was being constructed. Most teams at that time, it just seemed like every time a team got a new stadium, they went through a good period of success and selling out the stadium every day. We saw it with the Orioles. We saw it with the Indians. That was the Mets, except in New York. So they had money to boot, you know, and again, 07, they were winning the division the whole year. And then they choked it away. 7-game lead with 17 to play to your Phillies. Mets blew the lead. Then the same thing happened in 08, and the Phillies won the World Series. I think this season is more disappointing than those seasons because in those seasons, the Phillies were building a great team. As much as the Mets choked in 07, the Phillies earned it in 07 and in 08. So as heartbreaking as it was like, okay, the team that won deserved to win. The Phillies deserved it as much as the Mets deserved to lose it. This year, the whole division stunk. It stunk. The Mets were in first place for like 100 straight days. I recently saw that the Mets set a new record for a team to be in first place for the most amount of time and finish under 500. Under 500. Not only did you not maintain the first place lead, you're under 500 by like 7 games. And that's after winning like 3 out of 4. It's unacceptable, and I think this is worse than 07, 08 for those reasons. The expectations were there. It was fucking on a tee. It was on a tee to just run away with the division, and you couldn't do it. Then you choked it away worse and went under 500 8-9 games. It's a joke. That's what I'm saying. The Phillies, dude, up until a week ago, I thought they were still going to pull it off. They got within a game or two. I can't be as mad about that if I'm a Phillies fan. I can't. You made a run at it, and you did better than the Mets did, and I don't think you had that high level of expectations. I just don't. Maybe I'm wrong.
See, I got to kind of disagree with you because, I mean, you mentioned expectations. Now, granted, I am Mr. Negative. So
I don't know if you could be more negative than I just was. But
well, no, but I've been called every name in the book on Twitter, you know, for my Phillies takes. And the problem is people don't like the fact that I'm honest. I mean, if you want to be honest about the Phillies and not be a fanboy, the Phillies are the model of inconsistency. In fact, I've called them numerous times the most consistent inconsistent team in Major League Baseball because that's what the Phillies are. And you're right. Maybe I don't have as much of a reason to be upset and pissed off as you in this season. But I'm going to tell you that it's getting to the point where this is the MO of the Phillies, where they do have a shot at contending down to the last couple weeks or last month, as they did last year, and then they choked it away last year. So my point is yes, while you might have more reason to be upset, this has been going on far too long for me. Because let's face it, the last time
this year, but you're saying that you might have like this built-up thing.
Correct, because
I think we both have that, but go on.
well, okay, and you're right, but that's the problem. This Phillies team, as it's constructed right now, is not built to win. They have a lot of high-level talent, and when I say high-level, I mean high-dollar talent, because their payroll is one of the top 5 in baseball. But when you look at the team and you look at the layers and you peel the layers back, they're just not that good, and it's obvious that they're not good by the way that they finished. You have a flawed lineup. Dude, besides Bryce Harper, tell me a player on the Phillies that you're excited about as far on the offensive side of the ball.
I would agree with that.
Be honest.
I would actually agree with that, but
I'm just asking you. I'm asking you a question.
No, I agree.
And then on the flip side of that,
lineup.
And the flip side of that, there's only one pitcher on the Phillies that I actually get excited to watch, and you mentioned him, Zach Wheeler. That's it. Aaron Nola. Okay, here's a guy that we got in arguments about. I went on a show with Chip first thing, before the season started, and I was basically saying that Aaron Nola was an ace. And while, yes, he maybe was an ace, he didn't pitch like an ace this year. In fact, he didn't pitch like a second. Dude, Aaron Nola fell apart this year. He was an unacceptable asset on this team. In fact,
lack of asset.
Well, yeah, lack of asset. For lack of a better word. Aaron Nola sucks, dude. Aaron Nola is terrible. Aaron Nola gives you one good game and then two bad games. Then maybe 2 okay games and then a fucking horrible game. You want to talk about inconsistent? He's the model. He's the poster child of inconsistent.
I'll say this in fairness, though. That's just the story of Major League Baseball. I'll take Aaron Nola on the Mets tomorrow, dude. I think you're being too hard on him. He wasn't terrible. He just wasn't great. Dude. He was average. In today's game, the numbers he put up were average. Dude, let's take what I just
watch him day in and day out.
I do. But hear this out. As good as Stroman was, if you look, I think he averaged 5 1/3 innings per start. It's just the way the fucking game is, dude. The Mets as a team averaged 4.9 innings per start. How do you average 4.9 innings per start when you have a Jacob deGrom and a Marcus Stroman at the top of your
Marcus Stroman never had a season like Aaron Nola did in 2017.
I'm not saying he did.
Aaron Nola is capable of Cy Young numbers.
But Nola will be back. I'm saying there's I guess we're kind of on a tangent here because you're focusing on a couple of players. I think we're more talking about the disappointment of the team. I think Nola's part of your future. Obviously, you want to end the argument about whether or not he's an ace. Okay, I'm with you. We could stop doing that. But he's a good pitcher. He's somebody that I would totally want on my team, even if he's my 2 or 3. I mean, guys have off years. I think back to Brett Saberhagen, dude. Remember Brett Saberhagen? Every odd year, the guy was a Cy Young winner. And every even year, he was mediocre. And it was like clockwork. The odd year, 24-4, 2.25. Even year, 13-10, 4.9. Odd year, 18-6, 1.78. Even year, 9-14, 5.25. I mean, literally. It's sometimes there's baseball's a game you just can't figure out, dude. Well, sometimes it's just what it is. And keep in mind, these guys had a long layoff. They played in 60 games last year. Well, if you're going to write last year off, there's a lot you got to write off about this year.
Okay, well, maybe you're right about that. But here's a question for you. Should Joe Girardi be fired? Because I'm in the camp that he absolutely, definitely should be fired. And I think that not just we, Phillies fans, but I think a lot of people that watch baseball overrated Joe Girardi. And let me tell you why. Because Gabe Kapler could have managed that Yankees team. In fact, Gabe Kapler, look what he did this year with the Giants.
Yeah, Gabe Kapler is probably not the best example anymore. I mean,
okay, so maybe
first place team.
All right, how about this? Matt Klentak, the freaking terrible GM of the
Joe
Phillies.
Schmo off the corner could have managed those Yankee teams. That's a better one.
So I think Joe Girardi should be definitely on the hot seat. And that's my question to you. What do you think about Joe Girardi?
Here's the thing. As an outsider,
You're an outsider.
I don't watch the Phillies day in and day out like you do, so it's tough for me to say. But I will say this: I thought Joe Girardi from day one was overrated. Now, am I arguing that he should be fired? I'm not, because I'm admitting I haven't thought about it enough, and I don't watch the Phillies daily. But I digress. I thought he was overrated from day one for the same reasons you said. Managing in the American League, number one, is different than managing in the National League because of the DH, which might change soon enough. If the National League, gets the DH. But long story short, a lot of the American League managers basically have to sit there, make a lineup, and just watch the guys go. I mean, it's not like that in the NL. You got to double switch. You got to plan those double switches innings in advance. So who's coming up that next inning so you don't have to pinch hit again and you lose two players, blah, blah, blah. So a lot more strategy that goes into managing in the National League. Girardi didn't have to do that in the AL. Now, in his defense, he did play a lot in the NL. He played for the Cubs. He also did manage the Marlins. But even with the Marlins, he lost that job after like a year. He was fired. He didn't get along with the front office, whatever. But again, the talent on the Yankees is the real thing here. You're talking about a team with a $200 million payroll. When the Yankees didn't win, it was a failure. If the Yankees didn't win the World Series, it was a failure. You're managing a team that's supposed to win, so you're basically just a figurehead. So, yes, he's overrated. But that being said, most managers don't do anything anymore anyway now, Jay. It's all the front office.
Can we be honest?
What?
He had arguably the most dominant closer ever in the history of Major League Baseball, a guy who I put in the top 20 pitchers of all time, Mariano Rivera.
Hands down.
I mean, that guy was like lights out. Talk about lights out. I mean, how many?
Dude, but there's so much more to this because it's like, does Joe Girardi? He might because he's more of like a veteran guy. But Luis Rojas, I think, deserves to be fired a lot more than Joe Girardi. And I'll tell you this. Even when you make that argument, you have to question, what does Luis Rojas really do? Is he making the calls down on the field? The game has changed so much with this analytics shit. The guys upstairs just are making the calls. They're calling down to the manager.
Well,
saying, we don't like the way this guy hits lefties, with two strikes when the wind's blowing out of left field. What is Luis Rojas really doing?
Well, you're talking about analytics. Speaking of that, did you see the article today that came out in The Athletic about the Phillies? And it was exactly about that.
Oh, I did see the article in The Athletic about how, all the way down through the farm system, it's toxic.
It's very damning. That's the problem, dude. It's cancerous. And see, that's why, even though you maybe have a reason to be more upset, you still have a reason to have hope. I don't, dude, because I am not hopeful for a team that has no future anytime soon. Because how are they getting better?
Maybe you just made the best point. Maybe because I was so hopeful, I have the right to be more disappointed. And maybe your argument is that there was no hope or is no hope. Hopefully that'll change because I do think in many ways we're sitting in the same basket, dude. We're both in the same basket on that hot air balloon that's about to pop. And we're in it. We're in it together, bro. Phillies and Mets. It's a misery loves company. That's all I'll say, brother. Anyway, keeping with the theme of whacked, Machine Gun Kelly not only is a rapper turned rocker, but was the name of a very notorious mob gangster. So whacked comes in again. Let's talk about this a little bit. Machine Gun Kelly's feud with Corey Taylor. So let's go back through this a little bit, Jay. So, apparently this started a while back when Machine Gun Kelly was recording his latest album, Tickets to My Downfall. He had asked Corey Taylor to sing a verse on the record, apparently. This all came out later in light of the recent feud. But apparently he had asked Corey Taylor to sing a verse on his album, Tickets to My Downfall. Corey Taylor, did. And apparently, based on their tweets that have gone back and forth recently, Machine Gun Kelly had Travis Barker emailing Corey Taylor that he wanted him to add a couple lines or change some notes and sing a verse in the style of Psychosocial on the Slipknot song. And then Corey Taylor politely declined, said, I don't think this is for me. Blah, blah. So that's like stuff that came out after the fact. So if we go back into this a little bit, you know, you go back to February when Corey Taylor did an interview on the Cutter's Rockcast, where he indirectly referenced Kelly's change in musical direction. They were discussing genres and trends, and Taylor said, "I'm the worst old fogey dude shaking his cane ever, and I hate everything. I hate all new rock for the most part." Well, the artist who failed in one genre and decided to go rock, and I think he knows who he is, but that's another story. So that's a quote Corey Taylor had on that podcast. Obviously, he never mentioned MGK by name, but it was pretty obvious who he was talking about because MGK has gone from rap to now he's doing the pop punk thing. That's why Travis Barker from Blink-182 collaborated with him on that newest record. So then, more recently at Riot Fest in Chicago, a couple weeks back, Machine Gun Kelly was on stage, and I think he was playing on one stage while Slipknot was playing on another stage at the same time. I'm not 100% they were playing at the same time, but I think they were. But anyway, Machine Gun Kelly goes, "You know what I'm glad I'm not doing right now?" And he said something to the effect of, "I'm glad I'm not 50 years old on a stage wearing stupid masks talking shit." So obviously he was talking about Slipknot, so that went down. So then MGK called Corey Taylor bitter on Twitter, and that's when the story came out about the verse that he had asked Corey Taylor to sing on his record. And he said it never made the cut. So that's why Corey Taylor's bitter. And then Corey Taylor responded saying, "I don't like people airing private shit like a child." So this is all I have to say. I didn't do the track because I don't like people to try to write for me. I said no to them. So without further ado, #receipts. That's all I'm going to say. And then the receipts in question were 2 screenshots that he posted, an email conversation between him and Travis Barker that I had just mentioned a couple minutes ago. And that was when it was revealed that, he says he declined. But basically he said, apparently Travis Barker said that MGK was stoked and honored that Corey Taylor was going to do the verse, but he requested that he change a couple notes and sing in the style of Psychosocial. Taylor at that point thought he wasn't a fit for it, politely declined, blah, blah, blah. Machine Gun Kelly's response to that was basically, "Your verse was really bad, respectfully. I was just telling you to rewrite it because it was really bad, respectfully. But let's do a Britney Spears cover song together." This has been going back and forth. Then Machine Gun Kelly was apparently booed at the Louder Than Life festival in Louisville last week. So anyway, it's just going back and forth. And Jay, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this.
Well, it's kind of like Celebrity Deathmatch. Or at least
kind of
I could see them being a perfect pair in the ring.
Totally. I forgot about that show.
I mean, honestly, you know how I feel about feuds. I mean, first of all, let's face it. These people, they're rich. They're millions of dollars. Obviously, like if this was me and you feuding, no one would know about it. Like,
yeah.
It's because they're celebrities. But let's go a little step further. I mean, if I'm going to have anybody's side in it, I mean, I don't know how you pick a side when it's a he said, she said thing. But I will say this much. You know my thoughts on the styles of music and such. I've never been a huge Machine Gun Kelly fan. I mean, honestly, for him to come out and bash Corey Taylor, it's almost kind of like, I'm trying to think of an example of what it would be like. I mean, it's almost like it would be like, I'm trying to think of
it's like a guy just bashing a guy who's considered kind of an icon. But
Corey Taylor has a lot more
street cred in the metal community.
I don't want to just say street cred. I think we can all agree that Corey Taylor has done a lot more in music than MGK could probably even, imagine or want to.
Well, he's also a lot older, so.
Yeah, but
I'm playing devil's advocate.
Yeah, but that's part. I guess that goes to my thing. Like, he's calling him an old man. Like, dude, if it weren't for a guy like Corey Taylor, you wouldn't fucking exist.
All right, so let me chime in a little bit here. Here's my. Well, go on. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just. I guess my point is that, you're never going to know the truth because anytime that we have these feuds, it's a he said she said thing. But like I said, I mean, to me, I think it's something that you don't start airing out in the public, dude. Like, handle this shit behind closed doors. Like,
okay, so you make a fair point. So I'm going to play devil's advocate on both sides of this thing. I'm going to give you my opinion. Okay, MGK for me is kind of, and I'm embarrassed to say this on Sports and Metal, kind of has become like a little bit of a guilty pleasure for me because I kind of like the pop punk stuff he's doing, and not because it's my favorite style of music, but just because at least it's rock. I'm so like everything that the kids listen to is fucking mumble rap. So just to see a guy that kind of came from that and is representing rock as a rock and roll fan, I'm happy about that. I don't want to be the get off my lawn guy that thinks everything sucks. I want kids to like rock. I wish MTV still played fucking music. I wish MTV still had rock videos on it. So if Machine Gun Kelly is doing anything that can help make that happen, I'm like, go rock and roll, dude. Do it. Yes, 100%. It doesn't mean it's my style of music. Even though, like I said, guilty pleasure, I kind of like some of it because I kind of secretly like some Blink-182 stuff. You didn't hear that here, but neither here nor there. Anything that's going to support rock or promote rock or bring rock into the public eye, I'm down for that. So I think Corey Taylor's kind of being ignorant when he's saying, I'm going to get off my lawn guy, especially when Corey Taylor kind of came from trendiness himself. Let's be honest, dude. Fucking Slipknot came from nu metal, which is in and of itself kind of become the biggest joke genre in metal. And again, I'm not saying I hate all nu metal. I like a lot of it. I've already said on this show before, one of my guilty pleasures is Limp Bizkit. They're a joke. They're like fucking the new kids on the block of metal. They get made fun of all the time. I like a lot of it. It's something that just brings me back to that time. Some of the music was just fun. It'll get your anger out a little bit. It was a fun time in my life when nu metal was big. And I go back to the 80s metal. I'm 45, 46 years old, but I like nu metal. I do. All of it. Not all of it, a lot of it. So the point is, but for Corey Taylor to sit here and say that when he came from that, and, they were a gimmick too with the masks, and then he has this other band, Stone Sour, which I also dig more than I like Slipknot because they're more of a traditional metal band. Okay, so you have your traditional band that you were in first, Stone Sour. That was his original band. But you still went into Slipknot and did that, and you were nu metal, and then you became more of like maybe groove metal and got heavier as the time went by. But it doesn't matter. You still spawned from that. And then you're covering all these different acts and you're playing with like Kings of Chaos with Matt Sorum and all the side shows he does in LA, which I think are awesome. I'm not criticizing those. I think Corey Taylor's got a lot of talent. He's got a great voice. But the point is you're singing all different genres of music and you're having fun doing it. So who are you to sit here and point it? And you started it, Corey Taylor, when you went on that podcast and you said, I just don't like when guys who failed in one genre go to rock. Whether you're right or wrong isn't the point. You aired it in public first. You started it. We never knew that you recorded a fucking verse for MGK's record until you started this thing and it became aired in public. Then I don't remember Machine Gun Kelly ever coming out and saying Corey Taylor did a verse on my album and it sucked, so I didn't use it. That never happened. The email that you showed, Corey Taylor, showed that Travis Barker said that Machine Gun Kelly was honored and stoked that you played on his record. Now, because you called MGK out and said you don't like when artists who failed in one genre go to rock, I'm not going to name his name, but he knows who he is. Clearly, that was a dig at Machine Gun Kelly. So now that all this is happening, now Machine Gun Kelly, maybe in anger and response and self-defense, comes out and says, your verse sucked. I just didn't want to say that. Maybe he doesn't even mean that, but he never said it until you started it. That's where I'm at with this, Jay. I agree with you that it shouldn't be aired in public. And whether or not you like MGK or not isn't the point. I honestly think Corey Taylor starting this thing was in the wrong because, I don't see that this ever would have happened if Corey Taylor didn't start it. So obviously, when he said that, and then when MGK went on the stage at Riot Fest and said, you know what I'm glad I'm not doing right now? Being a 50-year-old wearing a stupid mask on stage talking shit, that was clearly in response to what Corey Taylor said on the podcast. But the way it was portrayed in the media, it was portrayed as if MGK just said that out of the blue and started the whole thing, which wasn't true. So that's where I'm at with this, bro. I kind of am on the MGK team here. And it's not because I'm saying I like him better than Corey Taylor. Corey Taylor's a rock icon at this point, especially in this era where there's not many. And Corey Taylor's got a lot of talent that I actually like a lot of the stuff he does outside of Slipknot. I love a lot of the cover tunes I've seen him do live. I love his Dio cover of Rainbow in the Dark on the Dio tribute record. I love Stone Sour. So I have nothing but the utmost respect for Corey Taylor. I love the Stone Sour cover albums too, by the way, when they did Creeping Death. But that's the thing. He did all these different genres of music. Not rap per se, but come on, Corey Taylor, stop. Just stop. That's my 2 cents.
I mean, that's fair. I see where you're coming from. I just think, Corey Taylor being the older of the two, and as they say, older should be wiser. Maybe maybe he can end this. Maybe he can come out and basically apologize and say this is just stupid. Like to me,
won't happen. I'm not holding my breath.
Well, I know it's not going to happen because they both have egos. I mean, obviously, how frontmen are. They got egos.
Speaking of MGK egos, he just got into it with Conor McGregor at the MTV Awards.
But he seems to be
that.
But that's the thing. He seems to be getting into it a lot, and I know that you're siding with his camp on this one, but to me, this is a guy that's trying to be something that he's not. Like, to me, at least Corey Taylor, I don't know. I don't want to compare their voices, but Corey Taylor's voice is way better than fucking MGK.
Yeah, but if we're going to say a guy's trying to be something that he's not, let's just think of who Corey, Machine Gun Kelly played in the Dirt biopic. He played Tommy Lee. That tells me a few things. A, that he's a rock fan. B, he was on point playing Tommy. And C, while we're talking about Tommy Lee, there's a guy that doesn't know what the fuck he wants to be. So, come on. Is Corey Taylor going to go talk shit about Tommy Lee now? Because Tommy Lee's done rap, techno.
I don't like the fact that I don't like the fact that he came out, and said about wearing masks. I mean,
yeah, but I think that was just in response. And you know how shit, dude. Come on, one of my favorites of all time, Axl Rose. This song is dedicated to a parasitic motherfucker named Warren Beatty. Now, come on, Axl Rose has talked more shit on stage than anybody. So that's what
I think we definitely should get it set up that these two go in the ring. Because I think it would be the perfect celebrity death match. They're both, seem like in shape dudes, and
at least we'll get the claymation celebrity death match if they bring the show back.
That would be cool as hell, man.
Anyway, brother, why don't we move on? Why don't we get on to the picks of the week? All right, Jay. So who's going to go first with this?
I think it's your turn to go first this time.
Okay. Well,
I know we talked about it a lot going into this week, so.
Yeah. So my pick of the week is something, honestly, dude, I kind of just discovered it. You never really acknowledged it. It's not the Osmosis album. It's the Osmosis demos. The Ozzy Osbourne Osmosis album demos. Now, I had heard all the stories about the Osmosis album, how Ozzy had these demos and the record company wanted a more grungier sound, if you will, more of maybe a Soundgarden, Bad Motor Fingerish type sound. It was, 1995? Makes sense. So I had already heard that, but I never heard the demos, and I came across them. A bootleg came out, I think, in 2019, and you could hear all of them on YouTube. I'm sure you could find the bootleg somewhere, but the bootleg went under the name Osmosis 2. I mean, it's obviously not affiliated legally with Ozzy. He didn't release it his way, but it's a bootleg. But, dude, it's fucking awesome. If you're a metalhead and if you're an Ozzy fan, you've got to check these demos out. Go on YouTube, find them, type in Osmosis 2. You should come across most of the videos. There's a number of tracks that were never released that are out there. There's a couple tracks. One track sounds like a Beatles song. I forget the name of it. But the thing that was most fascinating to me was some of the demos of the songs we're so familiar with, like Perry Mason, Old LA Tonight, and See You on the Other Side in particular. Dude, first of all, the See You on the Other Side. Before I get into that one, the Old LA Tonight demo, I think it's such a beautiful song, and I love the album version. But I might like the demo more because it's almost like you can hear every single note in the guitar solo, where it's not as maybe jumbled in the mix as it is compressed on the record. Yeah, just not necessarily compressed, just jumbled in the mix. But you can hear every note, and I love the way Ozzy's voice sounds on it.
I wish you could bring it up.
What's that?
I wish you could just play a sample. It's awesome.
Oh, I know it is. I know. Well, maybe I'll play a sample of something. But while I get into that, the most interesting Perry Mason demo was really great. Dude, it's just, again, you can hear every note of Zach's guitar solo because it's just not as compressed in the mix. It's not as jumbled. But the most interesting and amazing one is the See You on the Other Side demo. Dude, it's got a choir in it, and it's got saxophone. I'm going to see if I can play a second of this. This is the See You on the Other Side demo from Osmosis.
Dude.
You hear that sax? I don't want to get us kicked off, so I'm going to stop it.
Sorry, it's kind of trippy, dude.
Dude, it's amazing. It's like Ozzy meets, I don't know. It's like Ozzy meets something from the late 70s, Billy Joel. It's weird. It's so weird to hear it like that. But anyway, that's my pick of the week. It's a bootleg called Osmosis 2. It's all the demos from the Ozzy Osbourne Osmosis album. That's my pick of the week. What do you got, Jay?
Dude, that's a friggin' badass pick of the week.
It's fucking awesome. Check them out, bro.
Well, so my pick of the week actually comes from a band that I just saw a couple weeks back. And after seeing this band live, I've definitely grown a greater appreciation for them. They're a band I always kind of liked, but I never really got into. And since I went to this show, I've been kind of doing deep dives. As you know, I do a lot of lists, and I do like top album lists. And going back on this band, I picked up the album, and the band is called Trivium. They're out of Orlando. Obviously, most people have heard of them, but they're a metal band. They were more of like, when they first came up, they were like in the metalcore, new metal type sound. They've more since then have kind of become more progressive, and they've actually added a lot of thrash elements. If you listen to them, and they have a lot of like dueling guitar solos. The lead singer, Matt Heffy, he's also a guitarist, and it's awesome to hear that kind of where they go back and forth. But the album is called What the Dead Men Say. It actually came out at the height of the pandemic in 2020, so a lot of people haven't even heard this album. Like, it kind of went under the radar. It was kind of released, quietly. And this album, dude, honestly, I've heard pretty much every Trivium album now. This album is their best album, in my opinion.
What's the name of the record again, Jay? The new one?
What the Dead Men Say. Yes. It's phenomenal, dude. It's absolutely, like, every song on the album is good. There's no filler. I don't know if you haven't heard Trivium, they do a lot. They're known for their intros. Every album that they have, they always have a kind of a slow build intro, whether it's with piano, it's kind of balladish, and then it kind of just goes into the opening track, which is usually a friggin' kick-ass, in your face metal tune. But the intro on this is called, it's actually the number 9, but it's in the Roman numerals, so it's IX. You see a lot of bands do that sometimes when they do intros. They use Roman numerals, and then it goes into the What the Dead Men Say title track, which is actually an awesome song in itself. But my favorite track on the album is called The Catastrophist. It's actually track 2, dude. If you listen, speaking of Corey Taylor, if you listen to Catastrophist, it actually reminds me of like Slipknot. Matt Heffy and Corey Taylor sound similar, and if you listen to this, you think you're listening to Slipknot. Check it out.
I'm definitely going to check it out.
It's actually, like I said, it's a kick-ass record. It's in your face, balls to the wall. It's got a lot of these dual, intro solos, a lot of keyboards kind of used in the album, and definitely hyped, and I'm that's my pick of the week.
It's an awesome
pick. The Dead Men Say, check it out if you haven't.
Awesome.
And check them out live. Like I said last show, they are freaking phenomenal.
Awesome. Anyway, dude, it's another great show in the books. Always excited to be here. We hope everybody out there enjoyed it. Don't forget to check out at La Terrain Watches. Use our promo code at checkout, SNM.
I do have an announcement.
Beautiful watches. Save 10% off at checkout. And remember, we have a partnership with Manscaped that we're going to get more into detail about that too. And also, don't forget to check out our website, www.sportsandmetal.com. and check us out on all your social medias at Sports and Metal.
And I have a huge announcement.
What's that, Jay?
So I wanted to plug, I have an upcoming project. It's a collaboration project, brand new podcast. It's going to be dropping next Thursday at 9 o'clock. It's called Drunk on Ice. So please be on the lookout for that. If you follow Drunk on Broad, it's part of their platform. So get their notifications so that you can get notified when we go live. But I'm really excited about this show. I'm a diehard hockey guy, and it's going to be exciting. So Drunk on Ice next Thursday, 9 p.m. Don't miss it.
Eastern time. Anyway, thank you, Jay. Thank you, everybody out there. We hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget, check us out at Sports and Metal, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, your mother's ass, as what's his face always says. And check out our website, www.sportsandmetal.com. Rock on.
Peace out.
And that's our show. Tune in next time for more Sports and Metal with Jason Voorhees and Aaron Savage. Woo, yeah! Got something to say? Hit us up at sportsandmetal0423 at yahoo.com or on Twitter